Let me tell you something, and you're going to want to hear this, because what I'm about to share with you, it ain't just some scene from a movie. Nah, this is the moment, the exact moment when a kid became a king, and nobody in that room even saw it coming. Not Moe Greene, not Fredo, not even Johnny Fontaine, standing there with his fancy suits and his Hollywood smile. See, there's this meeting, right? Michael Corleone walks into Las Vegas, and everybody thinks they know what's going to happen. But what actually went down in that room? That's a whole different story, my friend. A story with layers so deep you could dig for days and still find something new. And today, I'm going to take you through every single piece of it, every hidden move, every calculated silence, because when you understand what Michael did in that room, you understand everything that came after. So stick with me here, because this ain't just about business. This is about transformation, about power, about a man showing the whole world exactly who he was always meant to be. Now, let me set the scene for you, paint you a picture of what Las Vegas looked like back in the 1950s. This place, this desert wasteland in the middle of nowhere, it was growing faster than anything America had ever seen. I'm talking about a city built on sand and dreams, lit up like a Christmas tree every single night, full of promises that most people couldn't even comprehend. Easy money, beautiful women, opportunities around every corner, but only for those with the vision to see them. You understand what I'm saying? And the man who saw it all before anybody else, that was Don Vito Corleone. The old man had eyes like a hawk, I tell you. He could look at nothing and see everything. Long before Michael even thought about sitting in that chair, long before he had any idea he'd be running the family business, his father had already made moves that would shape the future. Vito had financed this guy, Moe Greene, helped him build a casino from the ground up, brick by brick, dollar by dollar. That casino, it wasn't just some gambling joint. It was supposed to be the cornerstone, the foundation of the Corleone expansion into the West. The old man was thinking 20, 30 years ahead while everybody else was worried about next week. That's what made him who he was. So here's what happens, right? The War of the Five Families erupts back in New York. Blood in the streets, alliances breaking apart, chaos everywhere you look. And Sonny, the hot-headed eldest son, he makes a decision. He sends Fredo out to Las Vegas. The idea was simple enough. Fredo would learn the casino business, understand how things work out there, and most importantly, he'd represent the Corleone interests while the family dealt with the mess back home. Made sense on paper, you know? But then things started to change. Don Vito, he puts out the word that he wants peace, that he wants the conflict to end. And when the other families hear that, when they see the great Vito Corleone asking for an end to the fighting, they start thinking maybe the Corleones ain't so strong anymore. Maybe they're weak. Maybe they're vulnerable. And Moe Greene, this guy who owes everything he has to the Corleone family, he starts getting ideas in his head, bad ideas, dangerous ideas. He starts skimming money from the hotel, taking what ain't his, figuring nobody's going to notice or nobody's going to care. And worse than that, much worse, he starts humiliating Fredo in public, treating him like some kind of errand boy, like he's nothing, slapping him around in front of everybody, making him look like a fool. This is a Corleone we're talking about here, and Moe Greene is treating him like garbage. You see what I'm saying? The disrespect, it was building up like a storm cloud, getting darker and darker every day. And it's right in the middle of all this, with everything spinning out of control, that Michael Corleone arrives in Las Vegas. He ain't coming for a vacation, I can tell you that much. He ain't coming to play cards and chase showgirls. No. Michael is coming with one purpose, and one purpose only: to regain control, to take back what belongs to his family, to set things right. That's why this meeting with Moe Greene, it happens at such a critical point in the whole story. It ain't just another conversation. This is the first time, the very first time, that Michael steps up and asserts himself as the new head of the Corleone family. This is where the boy disappears and the man emerges. And let me tell you something. The coldness that Michael shows in that room, the control he demonstrates, that's going to define every single thing he does for the rest of his life. Every decision, every move, every alliance, and every betrayal, it all starts right here in this moment. Now let's talk about who Michael has become, because this is important. This is crucial to understanding everything that follows. When Michael walks into that hotel in Las Vegas, Moe Greene ain't even there yet. The big shot, the king of the desert. He can't be bothered to show up on time. So who greets Michael instead? Fredo, his own brother. And Fredo, God bless him, he's all excited, all relaxed, bouncing around like nothing's wrong in the world. He's got no idea, absolutely no clue about what kind of man is standing in front of him. This ain't the same Michael who left for Sicily all those months ago. This is something different, something harder, something colder. Fredo, he tries to impress his brother. He wants to show Michael that he's adapted, that he fits in out here in Vegas, that he's learned how things work. So what does he do? He throws together this little party, drinks flowing, music blasting, dancers everywhere, the whole 9 yards. He thinks this is going to make Michael happy, that his brother's going to be pleased with how well Fredo's doing out west. But that's exactly where we see the transformation. That's where we see who Michael Corleone has truly become. Without raising his voice even a little bit, without showing a single sign of irritation or anger, Michael dismantles that entire charade. He tears it apart in seconds, like it was nothing. Just a few words delivered with that ice-cold stare, and suddenly Fredo's standing there looking like a child who just got caught doing something wrong. It's the first reality check, not just for Fredo, but for everybody watching. This ain't a game no more. This is serious business, and Michael is the one running the show now. Then Michael has a conversation with Johnny Fontaine, and this is where his authority becomes even more obvious, even more undeniable. He tells Johnny he tells to sign a contract to perform at the family's hotels. Johnny, this big Hollywood star, this guy who's used to getting whatever he wants, he hesitates for just a second, just one instant of uncertainty. But then he looks into Michael's eyes and he understands. He understands completely what this new attitude means, what this new Michael represents. And what does Johnny do? He don't argue. He don't question. He don't try to negotiate or make excuses. He just makes himself available, plain and simple. Whatever you need, Mike, I'm here. That's the power Michael carries with him now. That's the weight of his presence. This is how Michael begins the process of reorganizing everything in Las Vegas. Not with threats, not with shouting, not with violence, at least not yet. No, he does it with silence. He does it with firmness. He does it with a kind of control that don't need to be spoken out loud to be felt by everyone in the room. You just know when you're around this guy that he's in charge. You feel it in your bones. Now, before Moe Greene finally makes his entrance, we got to understand who this man really is. And trust me, this is where things get interesting. Moe Greene, the character, he's based heavily on a real person, Benjamin Bugsy Siegel. Now, if you don't know that name, let me educate you a little bit. Bugsy Siegel was one of the most famous gangsters in American history and also one of the most dangerous men you could ever meet. This guy had no fear, no hesitation, no boundaries when it came to getting what he wanted. Bugsy was what you might call a pioneer, a visionary in his own twisted way. He looked at that empty desert, all that sand and nothing else for miles, and he saw something nobody else could see. He saw potential. He saw a city of entertainment rising up from the dust, and he put everything he had into making it happen, pouring fortunes into the Flamingo Hotel, which eventually became the model for every modern casino that came after. The man changed Las Vegas forever, for better or worse. Just like Siegel, Moe Greene had the backing of powerful people. He had the mob behind him, supporting his moves, protecting his interests. But in Moe's case, the one who financed everything, the one who believed in him when nobody else would, was the Corleone family itself. It was Don Vito who took a chance on Moe's talent, who saw something in him worth investing in. The old man financed his casino, opened doors for him, created opportunities that Moe never could have found on his own. And because of that partnership, because of everything the Corleones did for him, Moe Greene grew into a powerful figure. He prospered. He expanded. He became somebody important in Las Vegas. He had everything he ever wanted, everything he ever dreamed of having. But here's the problem, see? Over time, Moe got a little too comfortable. He got used to being treated like royalty, like he was the king of the whole operation. And that confidence, that excessive belief in his own importance, it started to poison his judgment. Little by little, day by day, Moe began to think he was bigger than the people who made him. He started to believe he was more important than the very family that lifted him up from nothing. And when the Corleones started looking weak, when the war back in New York made it seem like they were losing their grip, Moe saw what he thought was an opportunity. He saw a chance to break free, to become his own boss, to stop answering to anybody but himself. And that was his first mistake, and it was a big one. So when Michael Corleone finally arrives in Las Vegas, Moe Greene don't see what's actually standing in front of him. He don't see a new boss, a new leader, a man who's already made decisions that would change everything. All Moe sees is a kid, the youngest son, the one who never wanted anything to do with the family business, who went off to be a war hero instead of learning the trade. Moe thinks Michael is just some amateur trying to fill his sick father's shoes, and he's completely wrong about that. That's why when Moe Greene finally walks into that room, he's got no idea what kind of man is waiting for him there. He's completely, totally, absolutely unprepared for what's about to happen. The moment Moe Greene steps through that door, everything in the room shifts. You can feel it, like the temperature just dropped 20 degrees. The energy changes completely, and it changes fast. From the very first second, from the instant Moe opens his mouth, it's obvious he don't recognize Michael as anything special. He don't see him as the new Don. Don't see him as someone worthy of respect. And the disrespect that started with Moe not being there when Michael arrived, it continues immediately. The moment Moe offers Michael some free chips to go play at the casino tables. Think about that for a second. Think about what that gesture really means. Moe is trying to establish dominance right from the start. He's trying to put Michael in a lower position, like a guest, like a tourist, like somebody who's there for entertainment and nothing else. It's his way of saying, listen here, kid, this is my territory. This is my kingdom. You're just visiting. So take these chips and go have fun while the adults talk business. But that whole power play, that whole attempt to control the situation, it falls apart the second Michael opens his mouth. He responds with a simple question, just a few words delivered in that quiet, steady voice of his. With those chips, would I be able to purchase your share of the hotel? Boom. Just like that, everything Moe thought he understood about this meeting goes right out the window. Fredo tries to smooth things over, tries to pretend like it's all a misunderstanding, but Moe wasn't expecting that. Not even close. He walks in thinking he's going to run this conversation, and within seconds he realizes the person sitting across from him ain't the Michael he imagined at all. From this moment forward, the contrast between these two men becomes impossible to ignore. On one side, you got Moe Greene starting to lose his composure, starting to feel the ground shifting beneath his feet. On the other side, you got Michael Corleone sitting there with absolute control, almost frozen in his calmness, like a statue made of ice. The temperature keeps dropping, and Moe's the only one who don't seem to notice he's freezing to death. And then Moe explodes. He can't take it anymore. He starts raising his voice, getting louder and louder with every word. His gestures get bigger, more dramatic, like he's performing for an audience. He points his finger right at Michael's face, which is about the stupidest thing you could do to a man like that. He gets agitated, starts pacing around the room like a caged animal, unable to sit still, unable to control himself. This is where Moe's true personality comes out, raw and unfiltered. All the arrogance, all the pride, all the belief in his own superiority, it's all spilling out of him like water from a broken dam. And here's the thing about people who lose control like that. They talk too much. They say things they shouldn't say. They reveal things they should keep hidden. The more Moe talks, the more he gives away. And what comes out of his mouth next? That's the mistake that would seal his fate forever. That would guarantee what was coming for him down the road. Driven by anger, consumed by his need to prove he's still important, Moe lets something slip. He mentions that he's been having conversations with Barzini. Barzini, the greatest enemy the Corleone family has. The man who's been working to destroy everything Don Vito built. And Moe just casually mentions that he's been talking to this guy like it's nothing, like it don't mean anything. Without even realizing what he's doing, Moe reveals his alliances. He exposes his true intentions. He shows his insubordination for exactly what it is, a betrayal. He thinks he's demonstrating strength, showing Michael that he's got options, that he ain't some puppet who has to do what the Corleones tell him. But in reality, in truth, he's handing over everything Michael needed to know on a silver platter. And here's the beautiful part, the part that shows you just how smart Michael Corleone really is. Michael never actually wanted to buy the hotel. That was never the point. His intention from the very beginning was to irritate Moe, to push his buttons, to get under his skin until he lost control and revealed his true character. The offer to buy was just bait, nothing more. And Moe took it hook, line, and sinker. It's in that moment of imbalance, in that explosion of ego and anger, where Michael finds exactly what he was looking for, the perfect justification, the perfect reason. The confirmation that what he was already planning to do was not just necessary, but righteous. Now let's get to the part that a lot of people misunderstand. After that meeting in Las Vegas, after all that drama and confrontation, some folks think Moe Greene's death was just about revenge. They think it was payback for humiliating Fredo in public, for disrespecting Michael during the argument, for losing his temper and acting like a fool. But that interpretation, that's surface level thinking, my friend. That's looking at the painting without seeing what's underneath. The real truth, the deeper truth, is that Moe Greene was eliminated because he simply didn't fit anymore. There was no place for him in the new world that Michael Corleone was constructing, piece by piece, move by move. The future Michael was building had no room for loose cannons, for men who couldn't be controlled, for people who thought they were bigger than the organization that created them. When Michael comes back from Sicily, everything has changed. The war ain't just about territory anymore. It ain't about controlling neighborhoods or running gambling operations. No, this is a war for influence on a massive scale. It's a war for money, real money, legitimate money. It's a war for dominance, for power that can last generations. And Las Vegas, that glittering city in the desert, becomes the absolute centerpiece of everything Michael is trying to accomplish. The Corleone family needs to leave New York behind. They need to transform their businesses, legitimize their operations, become something more than just another crime family scraping for survival, and Las Vegas was the gateway to that transformation. It was the door to a whole new world of possibilities. With Moe Greene's arrogance, with his betrayal, with his connections to enemies of the family, he became a liability instead of an asset. For the new empire Michael was building, for the future he was trying to create, Moe represented nothing but risk. He was a problem that needed to be solved, a loose end that needed to be tied off. And that's exactly why, along with all the other heads of the rival families, Moe Greene met his end during Michael's nephew's baptism ceremony. While Michael stood in that church, renouncing Satan, his enemies were being eliminated one by one across the city. The contrast, the irony, the cold calculation of it all, that's what separates Michael Corleone from ordinary men. That's what makes him terrifying. There's so many other details hidden in that Las Vegas scene, things most people don't even notice on their first viewing or even their 10th, like the look Al Neri gives when Moe starts getting agitated. There's a whole conversation happening in that glance, a whole exchange of information without a single word being spoken. We break that down completely in another video, which you should definitely check out when you get a chance. And then there's Fredo, poor Fredo, standing there watching his younger brother take over everything, watching Michael command respect that Fredo never could earn no matter how hard he tried. You can see the seeds being planted right there in that room, the jealousy, the resentment, the wounded pride, all of it building up slowly, quietly, until it explodes into the great betrayal that happens in the second film of the trilogy. That's a whole other story, a whole other tragedy, and we got videos about that too. So look, do yourself a favor, go check out the other content on this channel, dig deeper into these stories, because I promise you there's always more to discover, always another layer, always another secret hiding just beneath the surface, waiting for someone smart enough to find it.